Well, we are pre-showing up our action here.
Pre-showing is what you do.
Yeah,
It's a visual thing. You pre-show.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's like Flash.
Well, it kind of is for us,
Yeah.
but for nobody else.
When did we record last? 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Gosh, has anything happened in your life in the past 2 weeks?
Good radio voice you have there.
Call, you're on the air. Anything happened in 2 weeks? Nothing that sticks out. I mean, you went to a movie
that sticks out. I
I
went
guess
to a movie
I
that
guess
I'm
we
not
shouldn't talk
going to
about
say
it.
anything
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Touchy subject. It
And
makes me emotional.
yeah, I told Melissa because she asked me if you had seen it yet, and I was like, no. And I said, he knows that I saw it, but I was like,
He knows.
I also have strategically
Yeah,
not said anything, so Will has no idea what I think about this movie.
I don't want to just change subject.
Right.
I don't want to know anything.
Yeah,
I can't even look at you right now in case you're giving off like some kind of subconscious signal.
Yeah, I'm like,
We've
I wrote a major spoiler on my forehead.
Oh no, yeah, that's what it is. The past 2 weeks we've dived,
Wow.
whatever the past participle
English?
of dive is. We've dove deep into deeper than usual, I guess. Into
I see. Yes.
Coast to Coast
Yep.
AM with Art Bell. So
right.
I think we talked about this the last time we were on. I just can't remember if it was pre-show stuff or if it was like actual episode stuff.
I don't know if we really did get into it very much, other than
I can't even
in
recall
one of
like,
the
what triggered
pre-shows I brought up Mel's Hole.
That's what
I
it was.
talked about Mel's Hole in one
That's
of the
what it was.
pre-shows, and
Yeah.
but I don't
Okay.
remember when that was. But that was all we talked
A
about.
couple weeks ago, as far as the listeners know, possibly, or it could have been yesterday. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah. Could have been yesterday.
Yeah. So that's what I can't even recall how Mel's Hole came up in conversation. Oh, no, I do remember. Wait. Rewind the tapes. You were talking about
So this is
the guy
the pre-shows
who
are
seems...
now are now. Can you remember what we talked about last pre-show recording?
Yeah. Well, if we recorded these like once a week, it'd be easier. But it's been a couple
Matt
weeks for us.
Farley.
Matt Farley
Farley.
has the cryptid song.
Yes,
That's what
Mel's
it was.
Hole.
And then you mentioned Mel's Hole, which is not a cryptid.
And I don't know how why that came up either.
Oh, here's that. No, I'm kidding. I know how. I have no
I
idea.
thought for real. I thought you did.
Just keep
actually.
tracing it back, and all we do is just recap word for word.
Go all the way back to how it
pre-shows.
started.
And then, like 8 years ago, we met each other, and then, yeah. So that like you found the like 5+ hour compilation of Art Bell and Coast to Coast AM talking about, well, not talking about, but also talking to Mel, who proclaimed to have
Mel
a hole.
Waters.
Yes, and that was a fascinating listen.
Sleuths have discovered no such record of a Mel Waters living in the area that he said he lived in.
Or no hole.
I will say that.
No
hole has been found. Either,
no hole's been
correct.
found.
Shockingly.
Yeah, or the second hole. Spoilers.
Yes.
So that was a YouTube video that someone had put together. You found. Had you listened to that before?
Funny enough, whenever I was on my vacation on Bainbridge Island, I actually started playing that.
Oh, you were
nearer
nearer
Airbnb.
to Mel's alleged hole
Yeah.
than you are.
And
now.
I don't remember why that came up, but it may have been because I was thinking about how that was in Washington State, allegedly. And then I was like, you know what? I've never heard the actual story. And then I found that YouTube video.
Was it Washington State? I thought it was Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nope. It was in
okay.
Washington
My
State.
bad.
It's in like the town that he said he was in, which I don't remember the name of, was in
Winass
like
or
the
something like
dead
that, or-
center. It was like the dead center of Washington
It was
State.
like some mountain range. Anyway.
Yeah, it was like in like a valley or something, like in the amidst these
It was in
like
this
mountains right off
impossible
of
geographic
the,
place. It was
interstate.
it was a valley in a mountain range or something along those lines. Yeah. So you shared that,
But it's a real town. That town is
I'm
real.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious. Side note and spoilers for those who don't know. I'm curious if the like aerial reconnaissance map that he shared with Art that had like the blocked out. I wonder if that was real, or if that was doctored.
Yeah.
If that was doctored by air quotes Mel before he gave it to Art. I'm curious.
Yeah, I wonder too. Well, Art claimed, if I recall correctly, I think Art said that there were listeners who also supposedly looked this up and saw that was there with that square blocked out too.
This story was just fabricated for that spot, so that way there was already evidence that existed.
Yeah, or something. Yeah,
this being obscured. Anyway.
I naively, knowing what was going to happen with this, but I will say that I was naively kind of eager to hear if that dime, if he like would have been able to get like a picture of it, because I wanted to look it up and see it.
Oh, the 1943 Roosevelt dime
Roosevelt,
or whatever. Yeah.
I was like, I want to see if that actually came to fruition. And
at first,
he was like, I tried every which way and I couldn't get a picture of it.
Yeah, of course,
I was like, okay, fucking God damn it.
My camera stopped working. Yeah, at first I didn't quite get that. I was like, okay, it's a dime. And then I as he explained the story, I was like, oh, so he's thinking this is some kind of like time rift thing or whatever. Okay.
Because it was like that dime didn't start being created until after Roosevelt's death, and in 1943 he was still alive.
Yeah. Well, and it also had the B on it, and they deduced that it was Berlin or something like. Because like all of these weird ass stories somehow they always have a tie-in to Nazi Germany. It seems like everything always does.
I text you, and there was a part where Mel started getting into like the Jews something, and I was like, oh no. And I like text you, and I was like, oh God, Israel came into this. I was afraid of this.
It always happens with like all these, well, not all of them. I won't say necessarily that, a majority, but at least it seems like a majority of these paranormal or like supernatural, not supernatural, that's the same thing, like extraterrestrial, there we go, or like weird unexplained phenomena. There's it seems like more times than not, there's eventually, whenever they go down the rabbit hole deep enough, there's always some tie-in to Nazi Germany, or like right around the time of Nazi Germany, if not directly linked to that. And it's always just like, why do we have to go to that level for conspiracy? It was fun enough, So that video, you sent it to me, and I actually watched it, which for me is rare, because usually you send me stuff and I don't watch it. That then like drew me down a rabbit hole. Yeah, correct. No, that wasn't a joke. That was a fact. Yeah, that was a fact. I still haven't listened to the song you sent me.
Like that
3
song
days ago.
I sent you a few days ago.
Yeah, I still haven't listened to that yet. Yeah, but I jumped right on Mel's hole though, and it pulled me in. I fell down into the hole, and I'm still falling.
Mel's hole pulled you in.
It did. It was an experience that I have yet to finish. So that brought me back to like my youth, I guess, or at least 15 years ago, maybe, possibly 10 years ago, where I used to listen to clips of Coast to Coast and eventually, I guess, Midnight in the Desert, wherever I could find them. I never had like the actual radio show, like, on the actual radio. It was always like recordings or whatever. And I did that a long time ago. And I don't know, listening to that whole 5+ hours, which I didn't do in one setting, like I was just like, I need more of this. So for some reason, I was just like, there has to be like a podcast version of this out there now, or something like that. Because I don't mind like going on YouTube and searching that stuff, but I like to put my phone down and like close the screen or whatever, like shut the screen off, and it won't keep playing if I do that, because I'm poor and don't pay for YouTube Premium. So I was like, there has to be like a podcast so I can, set my phone down and turn it off or whatever, or shut the screen off, and then it keep playing. And sure enough, there were several, and I just happened to pick one that seemed to be like more like an archive than either I guess more contemporary episodes, or just like someone talking about the episode. So then I found that one, which
clips.
It was, what was it called? I Heart Bell.
I Heart Bell.
Yeah.
And because I am, if I open my phone up, I am currently in the middle of an episode right now.
There you go. Yeah,
I was listening last. Yeah.
So that has been like the past couple weeks, where anytime that I have free time, which isn't often enough anymore, especially for like podcast stuff, for listening, I will just turn on an episode, and it's causing me to like neglect even further the podcast that I was already kind of dedicated to. But like those podcasts that I was already a big longtime fan of, I want to be more of like an active listener. So like, in the car, we're like, that's all I have. It's either silence or music or a podcast, right? And I don't get that much anymore. So whenever I do listen to podcasts now, which again is not very often, I'm usually doing something else, like working in the garage or, I'm not just driving and like, I can tune out driving as safely as possible, I guess. But like with the shop work, I'm like, turning on loud machines occasionally and like moving around and, sometimes tuning out entirely. And I don't want to do that with those other podcasts. So I just kind of stopped listening to them even more. But then I turned this on, and it was this I Heart Bell, and it was really nice to just like sort of passively have it on in the background, and I could catch enough of conversations, or if like one was to like, draw me in, I'd pay attention just long enough for that caller or that segment. And then once that was over, I would go back to doing whatever I was doing. It was really nice to have that. So I've listened to 3 or 4 of those episodes now of like the open lines, I think they're called. And those are just great. And I've listened to probably 2 or 3 open lines, and then one for a total of 4, where it was actually like a guest. And while it was okay, I was again forced to like kind of pay attention to the whole conversation. I couldn't tune in and out as much. So I need to find time where I can like just, actually just listen to more actively the actual guest episodes. But those open line episodes are fun because it's just a bunch of random people calling in. And the one that was about, I think it was the first one I sent you, was about a deal with the devil.
Pact with the devil.
Yeah, that one. That was so much fun, wasn't it?
But there were only like 4 of those calls,
Yeah,
and the rest
I know.
of them were completely random shit.
But they were random or off topic from that,
Yeah.
from the focus, but they were still interesting. They were still good.
Yes.
Because actually the ones that were, there was only like 1 or 2 of the on topic calls that were, I guess, captivating or whatever. The other 2 were just kind of like, okay,
Yeah, they weren't great, but yeah, there were a bunch of random calls from these other people telling these weird stories. The one that I texted you about was that woman who worked with this guy in the 70s who what was it? He was up to some weird nefarious top secret stuff or whatever.
Oh, the one
that was about.
That was the girl that did like it wasn't a girl. It was a woman who called in, and she worked at some lab.
Yeah.
And the guy's name was Robert, right? But even though that wasn't his name,
but yes.
And he was like a geneticist at like a Navy something.
Yeah.
And then
they
found those rabbits.
Convoluted thing, and then like years later, she saw him at the store like in the 90s or something like that, and like went up to say like, hi, how are you, or whatever, and he was like, we can't be seen talking to each other, get away.
Well, he said that like he said, I'm supposed to be dead. Like, we can't be seen together. I'm supposed to be dead. Yeah. No, so that was really fun. And then like another,
but it capped off with like he was in Connecticut or something and was like brutally murdered in his living room.
Yeah.
Or executed, she said. And I was like, oh, I can't wait, because I was listening while I was driving, and I was like, I can't wait to stop because I'm gonna look this up and see if I
accept.
And then she of course says, and they of course this didn't make the papers or anything, like they covered it up, and I was like, god damn it. You can't verify any of these things, of course.
But I love the one that there was a call shortly after hers that was like the guy called in and said that like his brother, or I think he said it was his brother, works on the cleanup crew that goes out and finds
those like mutant animals.
Yeah. And Art asked like jokingly, are there any of them still out there, or did you clean them all up? And the guy was like,
they have like a 20% catch rate.
Yeah, he said like a 20%. I was like, why are they still paying these people? They fail at their job 80% of the time, and they're still out there working. Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I like, how Art Bell doesn't like, he doesn't really get condescending, and he doesn't say like, oh, I don't think this is bullshit, but he just kind of goes like, oh, well, I hope I don't run into any of those or whatever, and then he moves on.
So, but he plays a really, and I've been finding this really interesting listening to him. I think in like today's world, there's this desire for, how do I put this? I'll say the word accuracy, but that's not really what's happening. It's maybe like validation of assumptions is a better way to put it. In that a host will try to push whatever he or she, it's always he, believes or thinks, right? Whenever something is presented to them. Like, that's just how it seems to be these days, where it's all like opinion as fact, whatever, right? And whenever someone comes in with something that the host finds ridiculous or whatever against a certain perspective, the host typically eventually at least pushes it back against that, right? Or asks for such high criteria of proof or whatever that it's almost impossible for the person who's speaking about whatever to achieve that, regardless of if the person is actually giving fact or not, real world fact. Whereas art, it's been really nice to listen to a guy just like take things in and be purely curious about it, and not like, and sorry, not to say that he doesn't go like, that didn't happen, or not to say that he doesn't go like, that's incredible, I believe it. He does kind of bounce between those walls as well, but he also has this like more like down the middle of like, that's really crazy, I'm curious, tell me more. Without it being like, I 100% believe you, I don't care what you're saying. And it's just really nice. And I don't know, that was like the most refreshing part about this, is not like these clearly ridiculous stories, for whatever purpose, either they believe them or they're entertainment. It was Art just being like as purely like inquisitive as a normal listener, I guess, and not having like a really strong perspective on it either way. That was nice.
Yeah, and even whenever it is something that he clearly doesn't believe, I like that he also kind of, there's been multiple calls that I've heard where he gets off the line and he's like, yeah, I don't know about that, but you never know. Any other callers have a similar experience?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's cool about it, is that he just says like, whatever he's feeling, either you can clearly tell that he believes or is curious about it, or you can clearly tell that he thinks it's BS. But the fact is, though, is that he still keeps it open for his audience to be like, you tell me. Does anyone else have stuff like this that they want to talk about, or experiences or whatever? You tell me, or do you, or whatever. And then someone will call in and be like, yeah, that last caller was kind of crazy, but here's my crazy story.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was really nice to hear, because I think that was maybe like an element in podcasting that did not carry over from talk radio, and that podcasting seems to be, and clearly there's not too often that there's like live call-ins on podcasts, so that's a different thing too. But my point is that podcasting seems to be driven by the perspective of the hosts, typically, either strongly or loosely, but there seems to be like a at least a focus of the show provided by the hosts. And with the talk radio, and then specifically Coast to Coast AM here, there might be like a theme or a topic, but it's whatever comes in on those lines, that's where we're going to go. And not knowing where that is, or what comes next, or what the next caller is going to say about the previous caller, like that is like, there's like a beauty to that I think I didn't realize I missed.
Yeah, and there's one of these that I listened to. I don't remember if it was that one or if it was one I listened to afterward, but he even mentioned how he was like, we have completely open lines. Like, there's no screening. Like, you get on and you say what you want, and we don't know what you're going to say. It's just completely random. And I'm like, oh, man.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like,
great.
do you think, I mean, that's another thing, too. Do you think that could be done today? Now, I say that knowing very well that Coast to Coast AM is still around in some format. But do you think that, like, the purely open, unfiltered, unverified, no pre-interview stuff could happen in today's world without you getting just a bunch of fucking, like, pussy, fuck, butt, tits, butt, booger, or whatever, right? Or someone coming on and saying something horrible about a politician or whatever, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to any of like the newer Coast to Coast with you said it was George Norrie is the host, right?
Yeah. I actually just listened to so there's also a podcast. It's like the best of Coast to Coast, but it's just like clips from the new episodes, basically, like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes less. But I listened to one because I saw the description. They had actor Thomas Jane on as a guest talking about UFO stuff. I guess he has like a UFO book that's coming out or something. It's weird. But I listened to that and I was like, yeah, Art Bell is missed.
It wasn't quite the same caliber of show.
No,
you're saying?
No.
Well, and again,
I think so. I mean, it was still kind of interesting, and I've listened to a few of the ones with George Norrie before, and I don't have like a ton of negative to say, but it's just
there's a difference.
There's a difference, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like the one guest that I listened to in full, it was some kind of like poker championship or poker champion. I mean, and it was Art being very much like a fan of like poker games on TV and just fanning out about like watching it and having this guy on his show and just being totally in. And it was really weird from what you think about Coast to Coast and about Art Bell, right? If you know anything about it. It had clearly nothing about aliens or paranormal or government, whatever. None of that. It was really like, this is cool. How'd you do it? I love watching you. How do you play? It was like a weird type of interview, and he was still deeply curious, but there was still also that something missing where it turned into like a late night TV show interview where it was entertaining and they were both having fun, but it wasn't the like raw, where is this going to go element of the call-ins,
Yeah, I kind of ran into somewhat of a similar situation. I told you I was listening to their episode from 9/11, 2001.
I might hear that still.
Because I was pretty curious about that, and it was completely just open lines is what it was.
Yeah.
Because the show opens and it's from that night after the 9/11 attacks, of course. And so he said that like CNN and all of these news organizations are like, they're handling the actual news coverage and like having the experts on and talking about this and that and whatever.
The
so
real
like
stuff.
They're handling like your information.
Factual.
He's like, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to give like you the chance to say what you're thinking, and I'm going to have these open lines and you can just call in and just voice your thoughts about what's going on, basically.
Purely emotional.
And
just
it's very interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of, it wasn't as like, I mean, people were like more level-headed than I expected. I expected some like crazy, like pissed off, we need to blow up the Middle East and stuff like that.
I think that stuff all came after, like there was like a gap of time, like that initial immediate.
There was, I was going to say there was a couple of people that kind of were going in that direction. And then I finished that whole episode, and then the next one available on that podcast feed was from the 13th. And so for like I think for the rest of that week, he just did that open lines. People could call
like
in.
The venting. or the whatever.
Yeah, and on that one, people were definitely getting more angry.
Yeah.
It was like more,
Yeah.
like the anger was starting to come. And
Yeah.
then there was another one that was from the next day after that one, I think, but I didn't listen to that. I was kind of like, I get it. And then I moved on to a different
Yeah,
thing. I was
yeah.
like, I don't really want to just keep listening to these calls
Yeah.
about this.
Like, I think, like, it's like, I still want to listen to that episode, the 9/11 one, just because there wasn't much documentation of like actual reactions of people who weren't directly involved, like, or that weren't there in Manhattan, or whatever type thing, right? Or in some kind of political connection. So it'd be really interesting just to hear like something that was very immediate to the incident, regular people, and that there wasn't that time, because there was a short amount of time where everyone was just in shock, and then that's never, like you said, like a couple days later, a week later, it turned into like, who do we blame? How do we, whatever, I'm angry, and right or wrong doesn't matter, but that was eventually like the human reaction to that. So to hear that like immediate, like literally just a few hours, well, 12, I guess, right? Later, for like real world people who are still like taking in the information that's being thrown at us, that's really interesting to consider.
Yeah, and it was cool too, because he had an international lineup, so he was getting calls from like, there were a few people in Australia that called, a few Canadians, of course, and I think there was a New Zealand person that called in at one point too.
Interesting.
So that's kind of interesting to hear. But yeah, so there was the other one that I was going to say, there was one dude, I think it was on the 9/11 episode. I think it was on the day of, it was either that one or the 13th, because those are the two I listened to.
Right.
But anyway, there was this guy that called in from Hawaii, who was a remote viewer.
Oh.
And he had like drawn a sketch of like this bunker where he was like, this is where they came up with the plan to do this. And he said that it was in, I don't remember what town it was, but he said it was something Afghanistan. Yeah. And he like said where this bunker was underneath the tomb of this like whoever in Afghanistan, like underneath that is this bunker area, and that's where they planned all this. And he like apparently sketched it, and Art put it up on the fucking
Wow.
website.
Wow. Well, that was like, I texted you about a different episode where it was open lines about what people thought the end of the world was going to be.
I have that one in my
okay,
queue.
so
Yeah.
I'll spoil. Well, I already texted you about it, but there was one right at the end of the episode where Art had been, throughout that episode, he had also been asked by listeners, like, what do you think? And his response was typically like, it'll be man-made. It'll be a man done to himself sort of situation, right? Not volcanoes or asteroids or whatever. And Art kept saying it'll probably be a virus or some kind of disease or whatever, probably created, in a lab, as far as like someone was experimenting on stuff to find cures, and then it gets out. That's what Art thought. And then like right at the end, this guy calls in, and I think it was from Canada too, possibly. And he was like, yeah, I think it'll be like some virus grown in a lab in China, and then it'll get out, and it'll just start taking over China, and China will try to hide it. But he went down this whole like rabbit hole that 5+ years ago, which, I mean, that episode was like, I think 98, I think, or something along those lines, would have sounded crazy, right? We would have all been like, oh, that's, what, possibly, but, nah, one of those, like, television shows where they show, like, natural disasters, and then they explain, like, the most, convoluted method to do something and get something done, right? But then now, like, 5 years after COVID-19, not to say that like there was intention or not intention, I'm not going to go down that path, but the fact that like this guy was just like pulling stuff out of his head in this like fantasy of doom, and he nailed some things that were just like, wow. And I think they even mentioned something too about like it'll probably be some kind of animal disease that'll then cross over to humans or something like that was mentioned, but there was all these things. I was just like, wow, this guy. I wonder. And again, I wasn't approaching it like this guy's some kind of psychic or whatever. No, it was that I was mostly curious. I was like, what was that guy's reaction in March of 2020? like he must have been like out of his mind that like, holy cow, like 22 years ago I called into Coast to Coast and I said exactly this.
I knew it.
Exactly. I was right, Martha. I was right. Yeah. Like I just want to know where that guy is, or is he still alive? And then what his reaction was to hearing that. I was just kind of blown away because, like I said, he got a lot of things close to what we know as truth, and then also some things that we've heard of as conspiracy. He said all those things. I was just like, holy cow, this guy probably died from having his mind literally blow. Like just literally like, oh, I got it right, and then that was the end of it. Yeah. So that's been our 2 weeks then, right? It's been mostly that.
Yeah.
Mostly Coast to Coast AM. Have you done anything else?
A lot of that. Yeah, because it's been similar for me. It has squeezed out some of my other podcasts, and so I'm pretty much just between that and Knowledge Fight. Like Knowledge Fight and that I Heart Bell are like the only two things that I've listened to. I listened to one other thing. An excellent show called What Went Wrong, a movie podcast about, I think they describe it as a movie podcast about how it's difficult to make movies, let alone a good one.
Accurate.
And so it's just about how, it's just about the production. And I listened to one about the Kill Bill.
Oh, nice.
Volume 1 and Volume 2. And that was really interesting and difficult at parts. Just hearing about like the Harvey Weinstein.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
They of course went into some of that and Uma Thurman's assault after Pulp Fiction came out and other stuff like that. And then so like her apprehension about working on a movie that Harvey Weinstein was involved with, and
of course, yeah,
that was kind of difficult to listen to.
Totally.
But very, very good podcast nonetheless. Interesting episode. That's one of the shows that every time I listen to one about a movie that I have seen and love, it just always makes me want to just watch that movie really badly. And so I've been really wanting to rewatch Kill Bill, which I haven't watched in probably 10 years.
Does it make you?
It's one of my least favorite.
Does it make you want to watch it because like you want to see if you can spot any of the stuff that they like? Not spotting this stuff, but like see if there's anything that like gives away some of the turmoil that they may have talked about, or is it just something that like it just sparks your like, oh, I love that movie, I want to go see it again?
It's the latter. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it's more just hearing them, because it isn't all just like awful things happening. It's just more, it's about the production history and how like, oh, like they came up with this idea in the mid 90s and they like all this stuff happens and it comes up to like it coming together, and then like through the production talking about all that stuff, and then it's released and whatever. But they also just kind of gush about the movie because there's two hosts, Lizzie and this dude Chris Winterbauer, and he actually works in the industry to some capacity. So he's really interesting. And actually, I text Melissa. He actually reminds me of you.
Oh gosh!
And she said. She asked me if it's because he's doing a movie podcast, and I said, yes, anytime I hear a movie podcast, a guy reminds me of Will. That's what happens.
Typecast.
But no, just the way he...
I mean, there are a lot of us.
He does... White guy on a movie podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does... I don't know why. There's something about, I think, the way he describes certain things reminds me. But anyway...
You mean wrongly or illogically?
He's just way off on it.
he's just way off and really dumb.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, that reminds me of my friend.
Yeah. It's like, oh, thanks for thinking about me, bud.
No, yeah. So he said that because he described himself up top as a Tarantino fan. However, he said he was like, I'm pretty sure I've only ever watched his movies once each. Okay. So he was like, I'm a fan, but I'm not like well versed in his work.
Yeah.
And so he said that he saw
That's
Kill
definitely me.
Bill whenever it came out in like 2003 or 4, whatever, and he hadn't seen it since. And so he
Hmm.
was talking about how nice it was to revisit it for the podcast, and he remembered back then Volume 2 was his favorite of the two movies, and he was like, "Yeah, on this rewatch, Volume 1 like easily my favorite one." And I've
Nice.
always found it interesting the people who say Volume 2 is their favorite, because Volume 1 has always been my favorite one out of the two,
Right.
because it's like the more stylish, like fun, super violent, like action crazy half
Hmm.
of the movie. Um, but it was interesting to hear that. And then I think Lizzie also hadn't seen it in a while, and she talked about how she had like snuck into the movie theater whenever it first came out with like her group
That's
of
awesome.
friends. I think she said that they went and saw Volume 1 like multiple times. They would like sneak into it every time because they weren't old enough to actually get into it. Um, yeah, and then just like hearing them gush about the performances, and like Uma Thurman should have been Oscar nominated for this. Like she's fucking amazing in this movie. It's crazy that she didn't get nominated or anything. And like the Lucy Liu's performance, they talked about how like Charlie's Angels came out not long before this, and
Oh, that's
they were like,
right.
yeah, I mean, this was like this is the role that like she is fucking amazing at, and that she didn't get
Right.
to do enough, is like this kind of
Clearly.
character. It's so good. And yeah, just thinking about all that stuff, I was like, man, I really just want to watch this again because I haven't seen it in so long. And yeah, the Crazy 88 fight, of course, is like one of my favorite things Tarantino's ever done. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's nice to
But yeah,
be
it
like
was nice to.
reminded about those types of movies. Like you already love them, and they hold like a special place in your heart or whatever. But maybe you just haven't gotten back to them in a while, and then to be like reminded of
Yeah,
like, oh shit, that does exist and it is awesome. Yeah, yeah.
that
Sorry
happened recently. Also, I
if you can
messaged
hear
our.
the lawnmower that's going by my house right now. I apologize. I think my neighbor's cutting his yard.
Yeah, that's fine. I had a cat meowing a little bit ago, so I'm
I
sure that'll
couldn't hear
probably
that.
be audible as well at some point. But I can't hear
Cats are
yours.
nicer
I
than
think
lawnmowers.
this
Okay.
program cuts it out. But oh, I had something else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, this happened. That happened recently. Also, I revisited Seven for the first time. I think
Oh,
since
that's a
high
good one.
school, because I listened to our friend Corey Culp and his podcast Karate in the Garage,
Karate in
and
the
they did an
Garage.
episode. They were doing a Fincher saga, and they did an episode on Seven. I listened to, and I was like, man, I need to rewatch this movie. I haven't seen it in so long. They did a Fight Club episode also, but I still need to rewatch that. But I plan on doing that too, because it's just hearing people talk lovingly about movies that I love just makes me
Oh
think
yeah,
about the movie a lot. And I'm like, man, I really need to watch that again.
Fight Club is
Yeah,
definitely one I need to get back. I've only seen it once, like a long ass time ago, and
that's yeah. It's one of the few movies I think ever that I have watched more than once in the same day. I watched
oh
that twice
wow,
in a day once.
really?
Yeah,
Um,
like in high school. Yeah.
yeah. So I watched it once, and it wasn't. It was like it had already been out for like I watched it on DVD or whatever. Um, and then shortly after that, I watched the game, and I fell in love with the game, and I never went back to Fight Club ever. Which I know there's a lot of hate for the game out there, but that's okay. Hate the game, not the player. Yeah,
I
I
think
I need to go back to.
I think they might have done an episode on the game also, but I hadn't listened.
I would love to
that
listen to that. I love that movie so much, and I also love to show people that, or have people watch that movie who haven't seen it, and then get the text or DM or personal conversation in my face about how much they hate me. Um, I really enjoy that part about it too. But yeah, so I need to go back and watch Fight Club again because I totally I don't know, I kind of dissed it because I thought the game was amazing and all my friends thought Fight Club was like the best thing that had ever happened in their lives, and I was just like, it was okay. So I need to watch that one again. Seven, as you said, like yeah, I need to see that one again too. I think I've only seen it once as well, and just amazing movie.
yeah, that was my second time watching it, I think. And yeah, I had seen Fight Club a whole bunch of times, but I haven't seen that since, like I said, I think it's been probably since high school
Right?
since
Yeah.
I've watched it. so I'm pretty much due for a rewatch. Melissa hadn't seen it since I think she said she saw it once, and it was whenever it like first came out on DVD, and it was like everybody talked about it, and she watched it, and she was like,
yeah,
and didn't care for it. And she hasn't seen it
Yeah.
since. And yeah, she said that. But there's like a running theme here in this house where there's a bunch of movies that she's like, I haven't seen that in like so many years, and it was like I didn't care for it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? This movie's fucking great, and I make her rewatch it, and
That's
then
amazing.
she's like, yeah, that movie's fucking
Yeah,
great.
no.
That happened recently. Pulp Fiction she hadn't seen since like around, I think maybe like a long time ago. She saw it once way back when, and she had this memory of like it was fine, but I don't really care. And I was like, I got the 4K copy of it, and I was like, all right, well, we're rewatching this movie because I also hadn't seen it in like 10 years. And we watched it, and I check her letterbox, and she gave it 5 stars, and I was like,
yep. yeah. No, I'm in the same boat though. Like I have a lot of stuff, not just movies, like TV shows, music, a lot of stuff. Where I consumed it at a time whenever it was being like force fed to me, and for some, or maybe not even directly force fed, it was just like super popular or like in the zeitgeist or whatever, and everyone was talking about it and raving about it, so I watched it, and then for whatever reason, either because I was being a jerk or I was biased or it was just like a Thursday or something, like whatever the reason was, it didn't live up to the hype that was sold to me, and I didn't like it, and I thought it was kind of like overrated at the moment, and I definitely need to go back and revisit a lot of things now that I've separated from that hype moment, but also just, I guess, grown up, and also, I mean, without even considering like personality changes or the hype, just life has changed, right? So there's just a different perspective on things now, and there's a lot of those movies where I watched them at the time, and I was just like, it was okay, it's like, it's like, one that I still need to go back to, and I think I've talked to you about this, is Cabin in the Woods. Like, man, I fucking hated that movie so bad. I hated that movie when it came out, and I don't know if it was me, if it was just that it was oversold to me, if it was the situation that I was in, but I'm gonna give it benefit of the doubt that maybe it wasn't as bad as it maybe was perceived to be. I need to watch that one again. Same with Prometheus.
I have a lot of thoughts about
I think
Cabin
you've shared
in the
those thoughts with me, and I think we're sort of in the same boat. But I still want to give the movie a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, because whenever I watched it, I was dating someone who sold the movie to me, which they had never seen it either. It was sold to them the same way. Plus, I think like everyone was selling it this way, so I'm not blaming my significant other at the time. It's just that's who sold it to me, so I was instantly like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But it was sold as though it was like groundbreaking, going to change horror forever. And I was like, finally something that changes the repetitious pattern of horror that we get into, and we see things coming from a mile away or whatever. I was like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, and at that point, it was all about like the torture porn.
It was
movies
exactly,
and stuff,
yeah.
too.
So this is going to be a fresh thing. It's going to be, it's terrifying. It's this guy that did a thing that everyone loves. And I watched it, and immediately I was like, it's fucking Scooby-Doo. I've seen this. Next. And it wasn't anything different. It was just like more of it. And yeah, and then I was what made it even worse is that my significant other at the time loved it. And I was just like, oh, God, I don't like this at all. And they really thought I was going to, like, be ecstatic and over the moon for this film. And I was just like, nah, it was fine.
Yeah, so I had a pretty long and complicated history with that movie myself.
From the beginning.
Where I also know that it's, like, a very well-respected, highly regarded horror movie. It's like there's a ton of these like best horror movies ever made lists that this movie is on, and I knew that going into it the first time I watched it also, and I don't think I finished it the first time I watched it. I think I got like roughly halfway in maybe, and I was like, this is fucking awful. I can't do it. And I
Yep,
turned it off.
exactly. Oh, I didn't turn it off.
And then
Yeah.
it became an annual tradition. Every year I would try to watch that movie again. Like around
How soon
October,
after
I
the
would be like,
first
okay, this year,
viewing did you try that? Like
the next
so
year.
literally the next year you try. Okay.
Every October for like 5
Wow,
years
you
straight,
tortured yourself over.
I worked at the video store. I would try to bring that movie home, and I would be like, this time I'm gonna get it.
Get to the end.
I put some distance in between it. I really want to love this movie like everyone else does. I'm going to watch this, and I'm gonna see what is it about this movie that everybody likes so much. And I would put it on, and I'm just like, God, these characters are fucking awful. They're like, because it's like because I get it. It's like riffing on like the stereotype of like these kinds of horror characters, but it's my same issue that I have with Deadpool, where I'm like, but you are still doing the thing these other movies do, like you making, but you're also like overdoing it to a point that it's even more annoying than it originally was. So it's just like even worse than it was in those movies.
There either
and then
needs to be a point where like the joke evolves to highlight why the joke was a joke, or you just don't do it in the first place, because as you said, it reaches a point where it just becomes like we get it. Stop beating a dead horse. Like you're not improving upon the thing that you're mocking.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, the fucking stoner guy who has like a bong in his hand the whole time. I get it. Ha ha ha. That's funny, I guess. Sure. And then I think it was like 4 or 5 years later, I finally was able to get through the movie beginning to end. I told myself, I was like, I'm not gonna like dissolve myself of this until I actually fucking like get to the end credits. Like I need to actually finish this once and give it a shot. And so I forced myself to watch beginning to end in one sitting, and I was like, now I can officially say that I hate this movie and I don't need to ever try to watch it again.
You did the actual science behind it. You did multiple experiments, same results. So was there a common point in the movie where it was just enough, or did that point fluctuate depending on year to year?
There was a common point.
And then second, did the movie ever get any better the further you got into it over those years?
Do you mean, okay, so by the further you got into it, you mean like my viewings, or do you mean like into the movie itself?
Into the movie, well, both, I guess, because I assumed that every year you turned it off at the same spot, and then only in the fifth year
I did. From my recollection, I think I did turn it off.
Okay, so then that.
So the answer to that question is no. I still hated it all the way through to the end.
No. I don't mean did you like it more. I'm saying did it do any? Did it get any better from the spot that you paused at?
Right. No. So that's my answer. No, I still hated it just as much. Yes.
Did the movie stay the same bad quality, or did it get worse as it got towards the end?
So this has also been over 10 years since I last attempted that, but from my recollection, the same bad quality, but in a different way, because it's kind of a different movie at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's definitely like a shift in the film, from my memory. Which, I mean, I watched it.
Yes,
I watched it whenever it was first available on Netflix or whatever. You know, this was probably 2021 or 2, I think. No, 2011 or 2012. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. So when it first came out on Netflix is whenever I first watched it, or I guess it had been Netflix, because I guess that was the only streaming service of the time, probably. But anyway, so it was shortly after it was released from theaters, basically, like maybe the following few months or something like that. So that was the last time I watched it, and I did get through the whole thing in one setting, But there is, from my memory, there is like a definite point in the film where it sort of shifts. I guess,
it's around the time I turned it off every time.
Well, so that was kind of what I was getting at with that question of did it improve or change, because I was curious of, like, I kind of assumed, and you didn't tell me, but I assumed about what spot you turned it off at, and I was just wondering if, like, that shift did anything for you, good or bad, basically.
Yeah,
it was just a different type of crap, as all of us.
Yeah.
Well, there's Thomas's thoughts on the 20 whatever Cabin in the Woods. Yeah.
the forever cemented
Was that
on the internet
2012?
now. My thoughts.
We could look it up.
That sounds like it might be.
I think it was, because I know I was living in California. I know we had our own place then.
11.
Okay, so it was late 11, and then I probably watched it. It had to have been sometime the next year, like early 2012, I think. Anyway,
the one compliment I have for the movie is the opening title card. That is a fucking awesome opening title card. That's like the one positive I would say about it. I love the jump scare title card, because they're like, it's just like casual talking, like fucking cruising on this golf cart in this facility, and they're just like talking, and it's kind of goofy, kind of funny a little bit, and then it just like the freeze frame Cabin in the Woods in big red letters fills the screen with like a screaming, like loud fucking musical strike.
I don't recall
like
that
out
at
of
all.
nowhere.
Wow. Okay.
It's got an awesome jump scare.
So that's the
height.
That was the peak of the film, and
it peaks.
It peaks in the first 45 seconds,
and then it's a very steep drop.
Okay. Bottoms out quickly. Yeah. All right. So there's that one. Like I said, Cabin in the Woods. I need to go back and just listen. I'm not expecting these movies to be any different necessarily. I don't want to go into these films with like that expectation of like it's going to be better. No, I'm just going in with the perspective of I may have given it harsh judgment because of how it was like either overly popular or it was like force fed to me, like you have to watch whatever it was, right? I'm trying to go in without that part of it to see if there's any difference. So I have a lot of those on my plate as well. Like I said, Prometheus was another one. I'm not saying Prometheus is a good movie or a bad movie. I'm just saying that I was very excited for it. I overhyped myself, which I've done a couple times as well, and I watched it, and I have never walked out of a movie. I rarely ever even turn off movies at home that are bad. That's one where I really wanted to leave. I really wanted to leave the theater. I was so just, I don't know, done. There was a certain part where I was just like, I don't like this anymore, and this is the dumbest thing put on a big screen. And so I sort of just like, I don't know, I sort of turned off the movie in my head, and I didn't give the rest of it any kind of like credibility or any kind of attention, I guess. And that's where I think I need to go back and rewatch Prometheus, because there was a certain line in the film that just like pissed me off.
I remember you telling me
being
about
so
that.
stupid. So so I need to go back and rewatch that again. Not to say that like the movie's going to suddenly be better or whatever, but it's cool to hear that at least one other person in the world has had that same experience. Where you're like, no, you're going to watch this, and then they're like, yeah, it was awesome actually. So.
Yeah, and I will say on that note that I am a fan of Prometheus.
And that's been one of the biggest reasons why I'm like, I probably need to go back and rewatch that again. Yeah, it was just the fucking line.
I recognize that I'm also seemingly in the minority on that, but I do really enjoy that movie.
It was specifically the line where
I remember you.
The doctor lady's like,
because I remember watching it after you talked about it and thinking about it the whole time.
The doctor lady's like, I can't have kids or whatever the fucking setup is, and then like immediately it has like an alien baby. And it's like clearly that's what we were fucking like. It was the worst setup ever, like written in the history of film. I'm exaggerating clearly, but in the moment at least, it just really upset me. Because I was like, I paid a ticket to watch this. I've been like super excited to see this for months. And you deliver that crap to me of like, oh, I can't have I'm so sad that I can't have a baby ever. And then it's like, well, I wonder what's going to happen, guys. Here we go. You
look like a crippled child in a wheelchair. Like I can't have a baby.
Well, that's what I thought she was at first. Like I said, I'm sure I overreacted in the moment, but I was really pumped for that movie, and then it just delivered the absolute foulest of line of not even line delivery. It was the whole like that plot point was just delivered like a hot turd on a summer day, and it was just like, God, stop! Like I could have stayed at home and watched this.
Yeah, there's been a few movies I think that have lines like that stick out as like fuck, god damn it. Like one of
I love
the
that reaction. Like,
one of the
"God damn it."
examples one of the examples that I had that thankfully didn't ruin the movie for me, but Halloween 2018.
Oh, okay.
There's a line where they're introduced to that fucking Dr. Sartan or whatever the hell his stupid name is, Sardine, Dr. Sardine. They're introducing him, and fucking Jamie Lee Curtis literally says, "Oh, you're the new Loomis," and I'm like, God, fuck you. I understand. Yes, we're all thinking that. You don't need to fucking say it. It pisses me off.
No, that's a.
I hate that line.
No,
much.
there's several of those too, and that's different from even like the moment in Prometheus.
Yes. Because it's not like setting up something.
But that one's just like it's,
it's just
exactly. It's clearly obvious what's going on here. I don't need the character to speak for me in this instance. I have a brain. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you're the new Loomis. No shit.
Yeah. that line pisses me off.
Well, and that's the thing about that moment in Prometheus for me is not necessarily that it's so poorly delivered or poorly set up or whatever, right? Like again, I've seen a lot of shitty movies. I'm not saying like that moment is like worse than like all of cinema. What I'm saying is that I was hyped up for this film. It was a comeback to the franchise of sorts, sort of like a back to the beginning with almost everything, and I was really excited for it. There's a good chunk of that movie in the beginning that I can recall that like really pulled me in. And it's because of all of that then you deliver a mediocre plot point. And I'm just like, really? I'm just like fuck off. Like, we didn't need to have that. At least not delivered in the way you delivered it, right? So that's what it was, is that I definitely I was way up here, you know, on the high point of the opening credits of Cabin in the Woods. That's where I was at. And then that line delivered and the crash happened. It was self-imposed.
Yeah, because then there's also like, obviously really good ways to do it, like skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear X spoilers.
Sorry. I thought you meant sorry. I thought you meant that was the way to do it. It's like the film just cuts. The film just goes, if you don't want the plot spoiled, just skip ahead 30 seconds. I was like, yeah, I would have taken that. Okay, but for realsy, spoilers are ahead.
Okay, if you skipped ahead 30 seconds and now you're hearing this, skip ahead 30 more seconds now, please.
Now.
If you don't want to hear spoilers for the movie X. There's the part in the beginning of it where I think it's the first shot Brittany Snow's character appears in, and she is standing in front of that big billboard, and the billboard is of a blonde woman getting like her dress pulled by like an alligator. And you're like, oh, I think that's what it was, something like that. And you're like, like you don't know that at first, obviously, but later on, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, that's fucking great. That is excellent. So there's like that, but then there's also fucking just like, I can't get pregnant. And you're like, okay, I know what happens in these fucking movies.
Pregnant.
Obviously,
yeah. Well, and that's and again, it's like that's the thing about. God, I could fucking. I'm already getting pissed off to the point I have to wait another 10 years to watch Prometheus now. But that's the point about that too, is that the reason why it was so upsetting to me in the moment is you're right, like clearly, very few people who are watching Prometheus in theaters whenever it came out are like watching an alien film for the first time ever. Right? Very few. And if that was your introduction to the franchise, that's incredible. So we all know how this thing works. So any alluding to like reproduction is just pointless. We already know that that's what the point of this creature is to reproduce and to make copies. And yeah, so that was why. If it was like, if that was your first introduction to any of the Alien franchise, then maybe that would have been different, because you have no idea going into it that like, oh, there's going to be some like, you know, reproduction here, and there's a host body, and there's a, you know, a birth. Fine. Then I'm okay with that. But this wasn't the first movie in this franchise. But it was treated, even though it was a prequel, for some reason they treated that moment as though it was like the first for everyone. So I don't know. It was weird. I'll try not to continue to be mad at that movie for no reason, so I can actually watch it.
I was gonna say that it was probably better for the first people who saw it because it was initially kept a secret that it was related to the alien. Like, you wouldn't have known until the ending of it whenever the alien appears.
I
if you had been able to see it
remember
earlier.
that being the intention,
because they spoiled. Yeah, it was either just before or as soon as it came out. It was like, oh yeah, this is a prequel to fucking Alien. And it was like, the first time I watched it, I knew that. Like, everybody knew that. And Ridley Scott was like, no, it's not. Even though there's an alien in it.
Well, that was the thing, is that...
And then, like, finally, a year later, he was like, okay, yeah, it is.
Well, that was the thing, though, is that, like, I don't ever remember feeling spoiled to that information. And I could be wrong. From my recollection, I always knew it was within the franchise. I don't know... if it was because of like how it looked in like the trailers or or whatever, little bit of information I was getting, but I don't recall being like, oh shit, they really did a prequel to Aliens. So maybe you're right to say that like they wrote it as though it would be unknown to people, but then yeah, they definitely dropped the ball, or someone fucked up and and then really tried to ride that ship all the way down by no, it's not, I promise.
Yeah, obviously it is. There's a goddamn alien in the ending of the...
That's the climax moment of the film. It's a fucking xenomorph right there in your face.
Yeah, and it fucking like bursts out of like one of those creatures. Fucking like, from my memory, it fucking comes out of his back.
Yeah, I think so.
Like onto the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking gnarly
looking. One of the Prometheus characters.
Yeah,
one of the white guys, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the white
and it
guys.
wasn't a xenomorph at that time. It was whatever. There's like a hierarchy of those creatures. But anyway,
yeah,
it was basically a xenomorph. I mean, it looked close enough, and there was enough of a commonality between the creatures that was like, oh, this is an alien movie. No, it's not. I promise, it's not. It really isn't. Okay, yeah, I guess it is.
Alien Covenant, the sequel to Prometheus.
So yeah. I need to go back and watch that, and I need to try to also watch Cabin in the Woods again, because everyone still loves that movie.
And you need to watch for the first time, now that you're, I think, 2 years removed, maybe? 2 or 3 years removed? RRR.
Yeah, no, I mean, I almost watched that a couple times. I didn't not watch that because of hype.
You remember that it's 3 hours?
Yeah, that's the only reason why. I didn't. Yeah, it wasn't because of like I was afraid it wasn't going to like live up to anything. I pretty much trusted that it was going to be awesome. It's just I didn't have 3 hours to commit to anything at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep waiting on that because there's, not obviously saying anything, but there's like a part that I have wanted to talk to you about. Yeah, I know.
That happens a lot too.
Years.
That happens a lot. That happens almost as much as you sending me links to listen to on like text,
because there's yeah, that's true, because there's like, obviously I look forward to hearing your thoughts about the whole movie and everything, and it's like really fun and all that stuff and whatever. I'm sure like I look forward to having that conversation, but there's like a part specifically that I like really have wanted to talk
what
to
are the
you
other
about
movies
that
I can't remember
in the theater gushed. Good question. Because
it's been so long since you watched them and asked me about them. Yeah. I know there are several though. I know that happens a lot where you're like, I can't wait for you to see this and hear your reaction, and then I'll be like, I'm hoping to go this weekend, and then I don't, and then, then I never get around to it.
Well, I would have really liked to hear, or to eventually hear your thoughts on Eddington.
Oh yeah.
And I would like to watch that again, but I actually. I did watch Civil War finally a few months ago, actually. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't expect to. But I thought it was good. I thought it was actually really good. Melissa didn't watch it because she kind of like you was kind of like, which is also kind of how I felt, but I watched it.
My is I don't know if I'm. I don't know yet. Like I have a hard time with. I think I've told you this before too. I have a hard time watching. War movies about like 2003 on
that, like Afghanistan,
and not because I have any like PTSD, not even close to that. It's just because it's like I don't know if I'm ready for like contemporary a mirror on contemporariness whenever I'm already living it. So that's where
Yeah. Well,
Civil Wars is like,
what's good about this movie is that it's not really like, and I didn't go into it knowing this obviously, but it's more, it's not like a lot of combat, because you're mainly just with Kirsten Dunst's character, who is a journalist, and so you're kind of with her and her little crew, like driving in a van for a lot of it, and then they stop in a few different locations, and she like takes pictures of shit.
So it's a road movie.
So there's not a ton of like out in the streets, like gunfire and stuff going on. There's some violence and whatnot, of course, but it's not like it's kind of difficult to describe it as just like a war movie, for so to speak.
Right.
Which is kind of what I thought it was going to be, and was kind of happy that it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and see, and so it's not the violence that I
right.
I don't want to say turned off by, but that I'm hesitant to watch in like those contemporary war films. It's just that like I was there. in the sense that like I was alive and safe and living my life happily. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and I think that might be why I have a similar issue with those kinds of movies too. I really don't like modern war movies. Like if it's a Vietnam or a World War II movie or whatever, like I really like those quite a bit. But yeah, there's only like 2 or 3 decent like modern era set war movies that I like.
And those are on the spot. Sorry.
Ones that I wouldn't really want to watch again.
But that you enjoyed in the time though.
Brian De Palma's Redacted I thought was good, very difficult to watch. I thought Grace Is Gone was incredibly depressing, but still pretty good. Has John Cusack, and basically he's just like driving around with his kids being really depressed.
Okay.
It's like his wife was in the Afghanistan, if I recall correctly, and she was killed. And he gets the news that she died in the war, and they have like these 2 little kids, and he like can't get himself to tell them, and so he just pretty much packs up a bunch of shit and goes on a road trip to like distract himself
of like denial.
From all this. Yeah, it is really depressing, but he's really good at it. Yeah, those 2 I thought were pretty good. Other than that, I don't know.
I mean, there's not too many to choose from.
I went through a whole stretch. I went through a stretch in like 2020, I think actually, or 2021, one of the 2, where I like wanted to watch more of these to see if I could find a good one, and I watched a whole bunch of them. And The Wall, not to be confused with Pink Floyd's The Wall, but there's a movie called The Wall from director Doug Liman. That stars Aaron Taylor Johnson and John Cena.
Okay.
And
this sounds familiar, but I don't know what this is about.
That is the cast.
Yeah.
It's them 2. Spoiler alerts. John Cena gets sniped immediately. And then the whole movie is Aaron Taylor Johnson, a solo performance where he is in the desert hiding behind a tiny makeshift rock wall.
Okay.
And there's a sniper that has his eyes on him, and he gets into radio contact with the sniper.
So
they're conversing
phone
back and
booth,
forth with each other.
The Middle East. Okay.
Yes, it's fucking great.
I'm in.
It is really, really good. That's my favorite one. And it's like one of the few that kind of humanizes the like Middle Eastern people as well. It's not just like this evil terrorist. It's like, because you hear this guy explaining like, this wall that you're hiding behind was a fucking school that you people blew up. That's why we're doing this.
Makes sense.
Like, you need to die. Right. It's really good.
That's interesting.
And then I watched those movies like Lone Survivor, which was fucking garbage. Movies like that, where it's just like full on pro-military propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, I think garbage, but and then there's movies like The Hurt Locker and stuff like that. I don't like those movies.
I did watch The Hurt Locker. Is The Hurt Locker the one with like the bomb squad guy?
Yeah.
Yes. I did see that.
I didn't like that.
I almost watched a long time ago when it first came out. I think it was Zero Dark 30. Was that the
Yeah,
was that the
I didn't
one
like that
by
one.
Catherine Bigelow? Okay, yeah,
Catherine Bigelow.
that was the one.
Yeah, she did the
Yes,
Hurt Locker as
yeah,
well.
yeah. She won for it though, didn't she?
Yeah, the Hurt Locker won Best
Did it win
Picture,
Best Picture?
I believe, and
Yeah,
Zero Dark 30
nominated at
had a
least.
whole bunch of nominations as well.
No, sorry, I
Yeah.
was talking specifically about Zero Dark 30, not Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
I found out recently, which in my recently I mean like literally 2 days ago, which makes me happy to never have seen this movie, Zero Dark 30. That I guess in the movie, I don't know if you've seen this or not. Spoilers, I guess. They use an extended audio of one of the 9/11 victims, like I think a flight attendant or something along those lines. You're shaking your head, yes? Okay.
Yeah, one of the Air Flight.
Apparently, they did not get the permission from the family to use that, and then the family found out that they used it in the film. And I don't know when. I don't know if it was before it was released or whatever. But the family basically said, "Hey, you can use it, but we need you to make an acknowledgement. If you win any kind of award, Academy Award, you need to acknowledge this fact that you used it without permission and who it came from." And then there was also something about donating a certain amount of money to some cause or charity related to the victims of 9/11, I think. So anyway, I guess it did win some kind of award. It wasn't like Best Picture or anything, but it did win like an Academy Award. Like I think I read that it was like Best Sound or something along those lines. Like one of the tech awards.
Yeah, like war
Right,
movies
yeah.
often.
The filmmakers did not acknowledge anything and did not donate anything. So
Yeah.
So I mean, again, not that like I would have rushed to watch this movie anyway, but it just kind of solidified of like I don't need to support movies that I already am not going to like, but especially a movie that like totally used something real. I'm guessing they used something real as an emotional trigger in the film, right? That it wasn't just like on in the background of like a news clip or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just like during a
Yeah,
restaurant
right.
scene.
So I'm guessing it was like an emotional trigger of some kind for the audience, and it was real. It was very real. They didn't do their own take on it. And then the fact that you just don't even ask the family who's traumatized by this, who was victimized by this directly, hey, can we not only profit off of your tragedy, personal tragedy, but can we also put it on like the biggest screens possible for the most possible people to see and tell you about?
Great audio. It's going to sound great.
Yeah.
Hear it in Atmos.
So fuck those filmmakers. Yeah. Anyway, so those are films
That's
that I
great.
definitely won't be going back to.
Yeah, I forget what other movie it is. There's like, this was a year or two ago. It's less depressing than that story, but there was a major horror, if I recall correctly, movie that came out. And by major, I mean it was like a big studio movie with like a big release. I'm struggling to remember what it was, but they used audio without permission from the Blair Witch Project.
I do remember hearing about this, yes.
You remember this?
The screams?
Like they completely ripped Heather's screaming from the end of the Blair Witch Project and played it in this fucking movie, like in the background.
And she basically came out and said, hey, I've already been fucked over once.
All three of them.
This film. Can you please not fuck me over again and actually, pay me, credit me or something? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what triggered like all three of them
so.
to like become very vocal about how they got completely fucked over by
Isn't that sad to
the
learn?
deal of the Blair Witch Project. Yeah, I mean, I kind of.
I mean, it's not a surprise. I guess.
I'm trying to remember if it was maybe the commentary or something. I know Ed Sanchez and Dan Myrick have talked about how like, we didn't definitely get rich off of the Blair Witch Project like everybody thinks.
Like they should have.
Yeah. Which is why he makes like little, basically made for sci-fi movies nowadays.
It's unfortunate.
Never got, and it was really unfortunate to hear in the podcast. Best Movies Never Made, about like these unproduced scripts or unproduced versions of movies that exist, sometimes movies that exist, sometimes it's like a movie that just
Mhm.
never got made. Ed Sanchez was on there as a guest talking about all of his unmade projects, and he talked about how he had like a Bigfoot movie that he really wanted to make. Like that was like his dream project, is he had this script for this Bigfoot movie. But he's like it's just like it would cost too much money. Like nobody wants to put up this much money to make a
How much are we
Bigfoot
talking
movie.
about?
Like it's been years. I don't remember what he said. Because I think he said how much he thinks it would need to be made. Takes place on a train.
Oh, okay.
It sounded kind of Snowpiercer-esque,
Ooh, that's
where
weird.
you have like this train is like separated by class, and essentially like a Sasquatch fucking like derails this train with like a tree or something, and essentially starts like picking off these people from the train and killing them.
Okay.
That's what I remember. I think he described more of
I-
it than that, but that was like the gist that I remember.
I was definitely in whenever I was
ago.
first thinking of like a Bigfoot movie a la Blair Witch. Like that'd be fucking badass. I was in then, and then you said train, and now I don't know if I'm in or not. I don't know. Maybe it's okay that one didn't get greenlit.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see. I'd be very interested, being that was like he said that was like the movie that he has wanted to make. Like that's like his dream project.
No, sure. I mean, yeah.
I'd be curious to see how that would have turned out.
I just don't know if we need to wreck a train. Is all I'm saying. I mean, I think there's other ways to get people in the woods. Maybe a boat. Maybe.
I mean, he did your version. He did exist.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
that's right. Bigfoot movie.
Yes, he did,
Blair
and
Witch.
I have seen that. You're right. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I liked it. I guess.
And then there's also Bobcat did his.
I haven't seen that one yet. I don't believe. Did you show me that? You wanted to show me that. You've told me about it.
I haven't shown you it, but I know I've told you about it for sure. Yeah.
Maybe I have seen that one.
That's really, really good.
Remember now.
That's like the gold standard fucking cryptid.
Maybe I have seen
at
that
this
one.
point, pretty much. Like that's like
Is that found footage?
Yeah. It's like a photo.
Yes, I think I have seen this actually. Yes.
Where like a guy and his girlfriend, I want to say, are like traveling to where the Patterson Gimlin footage was shot.
Yeah. I liked it, from what I can recall.
The movie's fucking great. Yeah. Yeah. Quick, yeah.
I can remember not liking Existence or whatever the exists. Yeah, I can remember not liking it as much as Willow Creek. I thought I was going to like it, and then it turned out to not be as... Because Exist is the one where they're in, like, the cabin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the premise of it. It was fun. But it definitely wasn't as good as Willow Creek. Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely not even close to as good, in my opinion.
But I do like how... I don't know. Maybe you told me about this. We had a creative segment one time that involved Bigfoot and a plane crash. And Gary Cooper or DB Cooper, not Gary Cooper.
Gary Cooper.
And we came up with like that whole synopsis.
DB Cooper became like what people think is Sasquatch.
It's just a hairy, unshaven DB Cooper in the woods, hiding from the media. I mean, I think that's still a possible film. Like an actual, legit, someone could pick that up and make that. In today's world, for like
so like
90
the poster, it's so we call it. It's just called DB Cooper, is the name of the movie.
Yeah,
but the poster artwork has like the D, and it has, but only on the poster artwork it has like in parentheses, dangerous B Bigfoot Cooper.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of completely hiding one or the other. Either the title and the poster allude to Bigfoot or like some kind of creature in the woods, or the title and poster allude to DB Cooper. But the other thing about this movie is never mentioned until it's revealed.
It's It's just called Plane Crash in the Woods.
Yeah, just real to the point.
Just put it on Front Street.
Plain,
So you don't even know there's a Sasquatch or DB Cooper.
plain old Crash in the Woods is what we call it. But plain is spelled different.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I haven't listened to that, I don't think, since it came out, but I remember you fucking ecstatic about that idea of fucking DB Cooper as Sasquatch.
I think that's
It's always a delight whenever we have one of these dumbass fucking creative segments that you fucking latch. You're just like, that's a fucking great idea.
Sell it.
DB Cooper has been Sasquatch.
I love a twist.
That's why they never found him. That's what the Sasquatch.
I love a twist. I mean, again, I think I said this at the time. No one has ever seen DB Cooper and Sasquatch in the same room. So I mean,
true. I certainly have.
Clearly. So I mean,
I've looked up. I think I even looked up, like, I was randomly thinking about it one time, and I looked up to see if anybody has made any DB Cooper Sasquatch connections. And I couldn't find any.
We're on it. We're ahead of the ball. Yeah, that would be something that would be a call in to Coast.
Yeah. You know, George, I had an idea that they never found DB Cooper, right? Like, his plane went down out there in the mountains or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Right. Well, I think this Sasquatch creature. Now, there's been more sightings up there,
right,
in the Pacific Northwest than any other part of America, right? So I was just kind of spitballing, George. What if DB Cooper is the Sasquatch?
Are you saying that you think these two are one and the same?
I am, George. Now let that sink in.
But how do you explain?
I
know. We should. But then, we gotta really prep for this because it's gonna have a whole shot in it immediately. So how do you explain, caller? How do you explain multiple sightings across not only North America but other countries as well? Is DB somehow traveling to these locations, or is he supernatural in nature somehow?
Now, I'll tell you what it is, George. Now, DB was working for the government, right?
Sure.
Now, they have a nuclear facility up there in Washington State. Yes. I think, now my theory here is that DB was taken to this facility and he was cloned. Now,
all right, caller, top of the hour. We have to go. So.
Each one of these clones.
just shut them off.
Let that sink in, George.
I think you should call it after every half point that you make, you just say, "Let that sink in." You can pause
and then continue.
Yeah. Now let that sink in. Okay, now what I'm saying is
now
that would be fantastic. I would love that. I would love to hear that. You know, it's weird too. Yeah. Sorry to bring it back around to Coast to Coast, but I was reminded about during the Mel's Hole saga about how a lot of the I guess stories or communications, I guess, were delivered to Art, and that was via fax. And fax, I remember, I cannot tell you if I had this thought on my own or if I had somehow listened to whatever little bit of Coast to Coast I could at the time, and then somehow this sank into me. But I had this dream, we'll say, goal, to communicate with a national radio show via fax as if I was a time traveler and I could only remember the fax number to this radio show because they always broadcast it to their listeners. And the radio show in question was Bob and Tom, which was it's sort of local to this area, but it's also national, right? And as a kid growing up, my dad would always listen to this. So anytime that I was with him, we would listen to it. And they always had a fax number where, again, listeners could fax in stories or images or whatever. And it was a very recognizable number. I think it was like something Bob Tom 1. And I was like, what if, you were a time traveler stuck somewhere, and that was the only number you could remember, or the only number that you hoped was like still in use, right? And so you start communicating with the past or future, depending on where you are in time, to this radio station and the host, because you know that they're on the air every day, or at least Monday through Friday, and you know that this could be a working number, and you know that someone's paying attention to it, and you know when those people are there, and you also know that whenever something comes in, they're going to read it. So you have all these things that could easily get attention to the fact that you're stuck somewhere in time, and then to play a whole bit based off of that. And then all of a sudden I heard the fax thing with like Coast to Coast, and I was like, damn it, like fuck, of course someone's already doing this or whatever. But yeah, that really brought me back to that idea of doing that joke, and I hadn't thought of that before the Mel's Hole thing in probably like 20 years. That I wanted, yeah.
Yes.
It was weird.
I didn't know what can of worms I opened.
Mel's Hole was a deep, cavernous, fertile place, I guess, or non-place. But yeah, definitely that story was like triggered a bunch of stuff the past couple of weeks.
I was thinking after we recorded that episode about the story of the place where everything that gets thrown into that hole ends up.
Yeah, because I mentioned
where
that.
There is like, just like a separate location where like shit just keeps falling out of the sky.
I think someone really should have called in and been like, I never put two and two together until now, but Art, I just, for the past 30 years, my backyard here in Florida, I just keep getting just junk just appears out of nowhere. And one day a whole cow showed up. And you had a caller on talking about this hole that this community just throws trash into, and I kind of am wondering if they're connected. Are you saying that the outlet to Mel's Hole is in your backyard?
No, I'm not saying that, but it seems quite suspicious.
Anytime that I shine a flashlight up into the sky where things are falling from, the light sort of just disappears. And then that Mel guy said that he saw this beam of black light coming out of his hole. And I don't know if they're connected there, Art, but I mean, yeah, I would have loved that.
Let that sink in.
Love that. That's what I would have done.
Now, can you get me can you fax me in a picture of that?
Of that pile? Caller?
I tried, but if I take a picture, it just looks like a normal yard. There's nothing there.
Yeah. I tried to throw my cat up into it, and he didn't come back down.
I can't remember what episode this was, but there was one of these call-ins. I don't know if it was the one you told me about or not, but there was a woman who called in who said that her family owns this property that has a gigantic hole. Yeah. In the woods, and she was kind of going along with it and everything, and telling him about it, and there's an invisible force field around it or something, where there's no bugs and there's no animals that cross this specific line, and we camped out there once or whatever whenever we were kids and whatever, and he was saying he was like, where this is, your family still owns the property there, and she was like, yeah. And he was like, you could, in theory, go there today. And she was like, yep, I know where it is. And he was like, if I went out there, would you be able to take me to it? And then she starts going, well, it's on their private property. And she starts to get all kind of fucking passive. And I'm like, God damn
another
it.
hole that's non-existent. Yeah.
Yeah. And he starts talking about like I've been fascinated with these
yeah,
holes.
yeah.
Like,
Art
ever
gets
since
really
Mel
sucked
called
into the
in.
whole. A whole story just pulls him right in. Yeah, I think that was on the same episode of like Deal with the Devil. I think. Yeah,
I think it might have been. Yeah, and then there was that Mel's Hole story. The first call was fucking amazing. But by the time we get to the end of it, where he's like with these native people in Nevada,
hole.
and they fucking had this like, they had the like tumor like monster
out of the
creature
sheep
that came out of an animal.
They threw the live sheep in, or the dead sheep, or whatever it was, and this
and it had human eyes. That part cracked me up.
It was like he said that like the animal was looking at him, one by one, and then Art goes, as if it had intelligence. And the guy was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, by that time Art, it was just like, oh,
that's what I was kind of saying. Art, like, yes,
it's perfect.
These people a little bit, but I like how by the time we get to that call, up until he gets to that part of the story, pretty much Art's just kind of like,
yeah, he's done,
and he's just like, yes. So what does this have to do with the hole?
Get back to the hole.
Like trying to get it all to come together, because he's talking about
his
fucking
teeth
like
being taken
going
out
to
or
Australia
whatever.
and like a mongoose like conservatory or something,
and then coming back and like he was attacked, and he's missing his teeth.
Yeah, he like woke up in San Francisco and his back teeth were gone.
And all of his money was gone, and Art was like, well, how much did they pay you actually? And he was like, well, it was like $3 million a month for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And Art's like, and you lost all of that? Art's like, how did you spend all of that?
Basically, anybody who's listening to this, go to YouTube and just type in Coast to Coast Mel's Hole, and there's like a 5.5 hour long. He called in I think 5 times ever
over the course of like
1997 and like 2002,
several years long, and he would call in randomly.
This video is a compilation of all of those calls just put together back to back to back.
It's the whole saga.
Really good. The first call specifically is just fascinating because because it's obviously like paranormal and supernatural and it's like out there, but it's still grounded enough to make it like super fascinating.
That's where the story, and honestly, like this is a fault of all sequels, I think, is that the initial story, the initial plot of Mel's Hole is delivered by someone who also doesn't understand the plot of Mel's Hole. He's just a guy with the hole, and they throw things in it, and weird stuff happens. So you're captivated by like learning about what's been going on, along with Mel, learning with callers calling in or whatever about what the possibilities could be, and then with the sequels to Mel's Hole, Mel is now in a world where Mel knows Mel's Hole. And knows the plot of Mel's Hole, knows all the weird stuff that is in between the calls and the years, and is trying to fill us in on the backstory of what happened with the secret government guys and the Australia and the money and this, that. And now it's that fault of like sequels where it's like, we're not as buying into it because that person is clearly really trying to sell us something, real or not, but they're just trying to sell it to us, and there's way too much information that they're trying to give to us, and it just becomes this boring thing where, and then the only way to keep it interesting is for things to be heightened to the ridiculous nature that they get heightened to. Yeah.
It's that first call is just, it's so fun to hear how like excited Art is by it too.
Oh, he's into it. Yeah.
Whatever during that call, I've never heard him like that excited before.
There's a subreddit that I looked up before. It was actually before I looked up the podcast that I sent you. That it was like either an Art Bell or a Coast to Coast subreddit, but one of the topics basically was, what are the best episodes or the best callers or best stories or something along those lines that started out amazing and then were a bust at the end. And over and over again, it was Mel's Hole. People just kept saying like Mel's Hole was great at the beginning, and then it just blew up. It just, and not in a good way. It just fell flat. It was a bust, total bust. So that was interesting. That there was this consensus of like the beginning is awesome. and clearly it is. Like, I mean, we're talking about it 2 weeks later, from something that happened
Yeah.
22 years ago, 23 years ago,
Like,
at the latest.
yeah.
Most recent, yeah.
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 So that's got some legs on it.
Yeah. It's really great because I've never heard any other story. I mean, there's like, as far as like, obviously not cryptid, but any like paranormal thing, I've never heard anything that was quite like that. I mean, the closest would be one of those things that where they lowered like the microphone into like the
which he
deep
plays that
hole
audio.
They say
Several
that
times, yeah.
Yeah, they say that you can
The
hear
screams
like
of hell.
hell. Yeah, which obviously isn't the case, but I think some people
Maybe
still think.
is.
But that's like the closest that I can think of to something that was like Mel's Hole.
Oh yeah, as far as like a weird like geographic, I guess, story or phenomenon. Yeah, I don't know of anything else that's like Mel's Hole at all. I mean nothing that's like you said earlier, grounded. Like the rest are always like really clearly conspiracy theories, like Hollow Earth or whatever.
The only part that made it, and the initial call that made it, but it kind of was like not quite too far yet, was how he talked about the guy throwing the like dead dog into it, and then it came back. That was the first where
the tipping point
where you're
like,
kind of like, okay, well, this was really fascinating because it's just like a deep hole that never ends, and then they have that part into it, but it's still not quite too far. It's getting close, well, or you're kind of like,
And like as soon as I think that was the eventual like complete unraveling about all of this is anytime there was something that came from the hole in some way, whether it be like this reincarnated dog or this beam of black light, or I think there was something else too that came from the hole. That's whenever it started to like, I don't know, I guess because there was mystery to like what it is, but then it was also like fanciful. But for some reason, whenever you're putting stuff in the hole and you don't know where the stuff is going, or you don't know like how much stuff you can get into the hole, or what is happening in the hole, for some reason that was like really a true like captivating mystery without, I mean, clearly it's also still fantasy, but it's weird how like that was different. Anything that came from the hole or that was of the hole, like some, like the whole like the second hole in Nevada with like the dead sheep, the tumor thing, like that was just like, this is the most ridiculous sounding story ever.
Like metal, like a metal exterior of it or whatever, but it didn't make any sound. There was like not a clanking.
Or what was the thing too on the second hole where they put the
stove?
Ice.
Oh, the ice.
Didn't melt.
Yeah, and it came out like burning.
Yeah. And they're still using it as like a heat source years later or whatever. Yeah,
like one of them took it home and put it in his like wood burning stove and is like kept his house warm for the whole winter with this. And then it like burnt a hole through his floor and it like
returned,
was creating like a new hole.
Yeah. So like it seemed like anytime something came from the hole that you could like, I don't know, analyze or test, or even with like the case of like the dog, follow, or like call out its name, to verify. That was whenever it was just like, okay, this sounds weird. But anytime anything went in the hole and then it was just gone, like there was just no answer and no way to prove what had happened to it without going into the hole, that was whenever it was still like, that's fascinating. I want to know, and you could hear Art, he was more into like what's in the hole rather than what came out of the hole. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, and even the whole like WHOLE, the whole ending, like the last couple of calls, they're still like really wild stories, like really unique stories, and really you kind of I was thinking like, how did this person sat down and like came up with these connecting points about all of these different things and tied them all together in this way and stuff. And I was like, it's really creatively interesting,
still entertaining,
but at the same time, but it's still kind of like man, it's just not the glory of the first call.
Not the glory hole.
This is
That's
too
exactly,
much. It's too much.
It's
yeah,
not,
right.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. And that's where it's like, that's the struggle, I think, too, is, something as great as that. Because I've said this before with films, not on this podcast, I don't think, but in previous discussions in years past, is that whenever you have something great, especially whenever it starts off great, the challenge then becomes, how do you fucking end this thing? Because it's either going to be less great than what you started, or you're going to try to make it more great than what you started, and that's going to be the downfall. And like I've had issues with the endings of movies before, or like the endings of series, TV series, or whatever, where I've had the issue of like, I didn't like it, yada yada yada, or it was too much this, whatever. But then in the same breath, I also admit that I don't know how I would do it better. I don't know how I would end a story as epic as Mel's Hole better than what he did. But that doesn't mean that how he ended it was good. Because those things they become so huge that it's like, it just has to vanish. It just has to, a call has to get dropped and then we never hear from Mel ever again. Right? And like the best ending is no ending.
Yeah, there's another on YouTube. There was a coast to coast video I almost sent you. I think it was called something like, the video is titled something along the lines of like Art Bell's most disturbing phone call or something like that. Have you heard?
Not yet. I've seen mention of it many, many, many times, where like the phone call gets dropped and the power in the studio goes out all at the same time, and yeah. There's an episode on that podcast that we're listening to now. I don't know if I've sent it to you or if you've listened to it yet, but he recollects that moment because someone asked whatever happened to that guy, that, and he explains what happened. So I'll leave that at that.
Well, I already know that the guy has like come out as it being
stuff like that. But that's the actual truth. This is Art's truth in the moment of 1998 or whatever.
Oh,
so like there's more that happened after that call that did not make it to air because of whatever was happening with the studio. Right.
Yeah, that call is really good.
Okay.
I will say that, like, even knowing that it's fake, and if you find that video on YouTube, it's easy to find. I think if you just search Coast to Coast Art Bell, it's one of the first ones that comes up. Famous. But even knowing that it's fake, it's still really good. And it's as soon as you open the video up, it's immediately playing. Like it's the first thing that plays on this 1 hour long video. But it's really good. Like that guy did some really good acting. Like his voice, like his panicked voice and like his breathing and like the shakiness in his voice, it's all there. He sounds really like a person who is like on the run and like scared for his life. It's really good. Yeah. And then it does cut out like at like in the middle of him saying, like explaining something, and then it comes back with Art explaining how they like are on backup generators now and whatever, and he was like, yeah, we lost power for a second, but this is what backup generators are for. Like the show must go on or whatever. And then you have these callers calling in. they immediately are like, Art, what's going on? And Art starts going like, well, something or someone cut out the power or whatever. And then they're like, is it like the government?
Yeah.
Like what happened? And it's really funny because one of these people does say, like, was it the government? And Art Bell just goes, I don't know. Like
how am I supposed to know?
Sounds really like, what the fuck kind of dumb question is
the government? How would I know who it is? Yeah.
His like the way he says that.
So in that moment where he recalls that in the podcast episode from, I don't know how long it was between the actual call and this moment, right? But someone asked like whatever happened, like to that call or what happened or whatever. And Art mentions that there was actually more to that call that did not make it to air. It was actually Art that ended the call because the guy was screaming.
Yeah, he's one of the callers, I think, called in this video on YouTube. I don't know if it pulled it from that or not, but because I think that these callers are after that call. But there is a caller who calls in and is talking about that stuff, and I think Art asks him, like, how much of it did you hear? Because it cut out or whatever. And the guy said, well, he was like, I heard like 15 or 20 seconds or something like that. And Art was like, yeah, he went on longer than that. He started screaming, and then it just dropped.
Yeah. So Art says that he started screaming, and it got crazy. And Art didn't know at the time that the station was off the air, because he thought he was still on. So that's why. And then the call, I guess either the call dropped, or Art ended the call, or his producer somebody ended the call, or something happened to the call. But Art thought that part was also on the air. And then how he describes it is, it makes it sound like he didn't realize until later on, maybe in that same episode as you were talking about, that there was a moment that the listening audience didn't get to hear, but only Art got to hear. Fascinating stuff. Well, are we ready to show now that we've pre-showed? I think we've come full circle on the whole here.
No, I think we're done for the night.
Hole you later, I guess. We'll just end it abruptly. As I'm falling down the hole.
much like the call, yes. And scene.